Hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking about the PT16 Brinyte tactical flashlight. This light was sent out for review. This light has several different features about it. It has a impact resistance of 1 meter, a waterproof rating of IP68, working voltage of 2.8 to 6 volts. Dimensions are going to be 159 millimeters in length by 27 millimeters for the body and about 39 millimeters for the head, or rather 6.26 inches in length and 1.06 inches for the body and 1.53 inches for the head. The weight is going to be 152 grams or 5.36 ounces excluding the battery. Beam distance is 600 plus meters or 556 yards. The impact rating is going to be 1 meter. The PT16 has a variety of different features. One of the main features is a maximum output of 2,000 lumens and a beam distance of about 600 plus meters. It uses a luminous LED, which has, according to the manual, 50,000 hours of runtime. It also includes a 21700 5,000 milliamp hour rechargeable lithium-ion battery, its own USB Type-C charging port with a waterproof grommet on top, a battery level indicator inside the switch. It's made out of a 6061 T6 aluminum and features a pocket clip. It's also hard anodized with anti-abrasive finish. The PT16 has several different modes, as an SOS mode for 300 lumens, a strobe mode for 1600 lumens, and then we get to the main body of run times, which is 4 different modes. Low is going to be 10 lumens for 16,800 minutes. Then it has a mid mode for 130 lumens, and that's going to be 1,200 minutes. Then it has a high mode that runs for 820 lumens for 200 minutes. Finally, we have a turbo mode that's 2,000 lumens, and that's going to run for about 2 minutes. Then it's going to step down to a undisclosed lumen output for 130 minutes. Here in the table, we can see the PT16 in the center, the box that it comes with, and the lanyard that comes with it that's attached already. And we have the USB-C charging cable, some extra spare O-rings, some product registration literature, and the user manual, and the 21700 battery. Here you can see the PT16 up close. We have a nice anodized coated aluminum body here. It's got some texturing in the center here for gripping. It's got a installed pocket clip, small one here, with a little bit of a grip ring in the side, or rather around the body. And we have the tail cap here with 2 buttons to access different modes. We have the lanyard attachment point here, which we have attached to the light. Some heat sinking around the edges here. The USB-C charging port with a rubber grommet here to kind of keep it waterproofed, or at least water out. And the head here, which has some texturing around the head and some knurling at the front here. So crenulations are pretty big and thick. And we got the smooth reflector with the luminous LED inside of it and the glass there. We don't know if it's AR coated or not, but that is the light in a nutshell. We also have the switch here with the LED inside the middle part, which renders the battery level and the low voltage warning if we click it once or twice, as you can see here. Let's go ahead and look at the insides. We'll unscrew the back here, and this accesses the battery tube. We have our 21700 battery here, and we can see the threading here is square cut, so it's a nice thick cut. We have the O-ring here, and on the inside, we'll get a light in there real quick. I don't know if you can kind of see that on the camera, but we have a spring in there, and we also have a spring in the tail cap here as well. So the tail cap has a spring, and the inside does, to make contact with the battery, and it goes in with the positive end in facing towards the light head, and it screws in like so. There's no lockout mode for this light, other than what the manual specifies as turning the switch, or rather the tail end, out a little bit to prevent contact. Otherwise, you do have light turning on here. So this is our light in a nutshell for the outside and the inside. Let's go over the modes briefly here. So to access one of the main high modes immediately, you push the tail switch and it goes to high mode. There's no other types of modes involved. It's on and off. You can also turn on the light via pushing the switch once on here, and it can rotate through the different modes. There's 4 different modes for the main set of modes. We have the low mode here. This is sort of like the medium mode. This is sort of like the high, and that is the turbo mode. So it rotates by pushing this button once, the front switch. Now to turn it off from the front switch, we simply hold down and it will turn off. And then you can also access the strobe mode immediately via the secondary button here in the back. And if you do turn on the high mode here, you can change the modes with the secondary button in the back as well, much like the front button. Now to access the strobe modes here, simply double click here and it goes to strobe mode. And if you hold down, it'll rotate. Or rather, if you double click, it kind of changes to SOS mode. You can't do that with the rear switches in the back. So that is our UI system of the PT16. Pretty basic, pretty simple. Now if you click 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll lock out the front switch here. And you can see the light does glow a little bit green here in the front switch, meaning that's locked out and won't be accessible. Now to bypass that, simply hit the rear switch and you're ready to go again. And then this should be still deactivated in the front at least. So you can disable the front switch here, but the 2 rear switches in the back will be active. Okay, we're back. We're shooting at an ISO of 160, Apertures 5.6, 24 frames per second with a white balance of 5000K on a Panasonic GH2 with a 14 to 42mm lens. Here on the table we can see the Oppo Light Master Pro, and we have the reading here on my phone. We're measuring lux, CCT, and CRI rating here. And we have the light on in the lowest mode here, about 2 feet off the table. Then we're going to go to the medium mode, and the lux jumps up, and CCT remains relatively the same, as well as the CRI rating. And we go to the high mode here, and it no longer reads it because it's so much energy getting into it. And then we go to the turbo mode, which completely blots out anything as well. Back to the low mode. So those are the 4 main light modes that you can access. And let's go ahead and look at the beam profile briefly here. So as you saw before, it's got a tight hotspot on the table with a little bit of a spill around the sides here. You may not be able to see it directly in the camera. So let's go ahead and bump it up a little bit. And now you can kind of see a little bit more of the spill on the sides and the softer hotspot, although it's very well defined. We go up to the high mode. It gets even brighter. And then finally the turbo mode, which kind of just throws out a lot of heat, and you can feel that heat even at that little spot there that's concentrated right there. So that's a good thrower right there on the light. Here we can see the measurements for the current and the voltage that it takes to charge the battery. We have 5 volts at about 1.12 amps into the USB-C charging port. While it's charging, it's important to note that there is a little red LED in the switch here that glows to let you know the charging status, and that should turn green when it's done. And also, when you do lock out the switch here, it will glow green as well to kind of show you what the switch is to unlock the light. It's also important to note you can run the light on the lowest mode and the second lowest mode while it's charging as well. Overall, my final thoughts on the Brinyte PT16 is that it's a decent light for a 21700 platform. They did make some improvements in terms of removing the proprietary recharging system and replacing with a USB-C charging system. The modes are pretty straightforward and they make a lot of sense. The access of several different buttons to access the various modes makes sense to me. It throws out pretty far, has a decent type of LED inside of there. It's a good thrower. And I do like the aesthetic look of it. It does have a nice kind of even symmetrical look to it, in my opinion. I like that the mode button on the top glows a little bit so you can tell what the battery status is when you're using the light and if you lock it out. We also have a pocket clip here, which is nothing to write home about, but it does have a good retention to it. The one thing I would say about it that's kind of negative to me is the USB-C recharging port. It's a little bit easy to access and accidentally open, in my opinion. If they had buffered up that section of the light with a little bit more material to kind of prevent that from happening, I think this would have been a perfectly executed light. But overall, it's a step up from their previous proprietary charging systems, which they used to use on some of their older models. Overall, it's a decent light, and I would recommend anybody check them out and see if they would be interested in using it. That's all I have to say about the Brinyte PT16. Thank you for watching and enjoy your day.